All right. We are going to be getting started here with our virtual. Kim Martinez, Mike Hext, and is that?
And that's cool. As long as there's one, just to make sure that we can see.
Does everyone need to see them?
Well, if,
Oh,
if there's a vote,
there's Kim.
they have to be visible there. If there's something to be voted on, they have to be visible.
Yeah.
Mike and Sumeda. Oh, there's Sumeda. I think all we'll have is the minutes, right? Well, they were helped,
We don't have to approve the minutes.
right?
So we can.
We could just get started.
That's the situation.
Well, I'm recording on this if we have to use that for our recording.
Yeah, public hearing. So.
What was that? Oh, okay.
It'll still more trying to get the audio.
Okay. Is there only one? Even though we bought two sets? Did the set come with two microphones?
You know, Sarah Knights, Sarah Knights, Princess of the Lake, so you know.
Must have changed. What do you mean on drugs?
Well, it usually,
I-
initially Sarah was woman full of woes, so she became pregnant.
Yes, we do need to go.
Wait, I thought y'all were fooling around.
Shall we get started?
So I guess I'm gonna move, okay.
We're gonna ask 2 minutes until we're sure we comply with everything else. So the next thing on the agenda is the updated 5-year plan amendment.
5-year plan amendment scheduled for tonight at 7:00. Tell you that we have not received any public comment from that, so I honestly, I don't expect anyone to extend tonight. So the public hearing still have to move forward, but it may be over in 15 minutes. So that the amendment.
Tell us what it does.
Sure. This is okay.
Do you think it would be good to sit closer to this computer if you're going to talk a lot?
Yeah.
Since that might be our,
So I can show this
oh, yeah.
presentation to people.
Chandler, did you get cataracts?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
One of the best things I've ever done. All over the story, can I?
the only thing, those on the WebEx won't see yours
Yeah.
unless you join the WebEx. So complicated.
Hello, everyone. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Yeah. Okay, so tonight there is a 5-year solid waste management plan amendment public hearing that's proposed. And it's really kind of a minor amendment according to the state. And it is to update our 5-year plan to clarify disposal capacity for the county. My understanding, and this goes back quite some time. We had to do an analysis of what the capacity was for the landfill, all the 5-year plans going back, and what the state had. The state's last capacity was estimated in 2022 or 2002. So we're going to have to go back and amend our plan to clarify what that is. So I'll just give a little quick, brief presentation on what that means. So state law requires a solid waste management plan. Most people here will understand that if you've been around the district for quite some time. The 109 board is responsible for doing that plan according to Metro ordinance. The governing body, the 109 board, is a non-taxing body that was organized under Kentucky statutes. If the governing body determines that a solid waste management plan should be amended between the 5-year updates, it can ask the state for approval to begin that process, which we did. Approved at the 109 board several months ago. We sent the draft and a request to them. They said, yes, you have to have a hearing. It is a minor amendment, but you still need to go through this process. So capacity assurance and solid waste management plans. Every plan must include commitments from one or more landfills to accept the community's waste over the next 10 years. We have to ensure that we have enough space. That demonstration of capacity can be based on a letter from a letter from a landfill in the county or out of the county. There's no obligation to use that landfill because you have the capacity. So we don't have to go to it, but we have the outer loop landfill, and that's kind of who we've actually used in the past. So the capacity demonstration is simply a planning tool to make sure that we have disposal for our waste. Once solid waste management plan governing body demonstrates a plan that it has capacity assurance for one or more landfills, it can decide whether any additional waste can be landfilled in the county. No landfill can be issued a permit unless the capacity it wants to create, expressed in tons or cubic yards, is consistent with the capacity authorized in the plan for waste disposal in that county. The question of how much capacity should be authorized in Jefferson County is what brings us here today. So it's that authorization and how much can come through. So the proposed amendment, why the amendment? Because the current plan is inaccurate, so it doesn't meet the state law. Current plan states that the total capacity for waste disposal at Outer Loop is 10 million tons for 2023, 2020, 2033. And that amount disposed in the landfill to date is zero. The revised text, if approved, would correct that and provide the total capacity authorized to date as 72,818,627 cubic yards, the amount authorized in the past plans in 2002. That amount of the waste disposed in the landfill to date from 2002 is 27,467,634 cubic yards, and that the remaining authorized capacity is 45,350,933 cubic yards. That's how much space is left. So now we have a better understanding of how much space is left in the landfill for disposal. If approved, after considering all the public comments received at this hearing and during the comment period, this is written for the hearing, the plan amendment would limit the capacity authorized in the solid waste management plan for solid waste disposal in the Outer Loop landfill to the volume of waste already approved in the past solid waste management plan going forward. If the plan is amended and in the future, the landfill seeks to permit to expand beyond the capacity already approved in the State Division of Solid Waste, it would need to first request an amendment of the solid waste management plan to provide the additional capacity and to receive a letter from the district that the proposed expansion is consistent with the capacity authorized in the plan. That proposed amendment to the solid waste management plan would go through this same public hearing process. So we're doing a reset. Is what this really kind of comes down to. And we're making sure that we understand what that capacity is so that we can do plans in the future. So what happens next? After the close of the comment period tonight, the board will consider and respond to each comment received, which is received none. So be sure to leave your name. That's okay. Then the district will decide at a future meeting, although if there's no comments, they can decide it tonight, for which public notice will be published, whether to finalize the proposed amendment to the solid waste management plan. There will be no immediate effect on solid waste disposal since there remains a significant amount of capacity that was previously authorized in past solid waste management plans for waste disposal at the outer loop landfill, and for which the state permit has already been issued. Questions?
Yes, I apologize if I overlooked the qualifier, but are these quantities for what is generated in Jefferson County or all together, whatever county that can go into the?
This is a sum of everything. And we have to get a piece of that for the next 10 years that we're guaranteed. Then the landfill can look outside of that for outside of county disposal if we approve it. So that's where a host agreement comes into. So why did we even come to this is because we were looking at redoing the host agreement. And we needed to clarify this before we can do so. So that's really where we're at. I think that once this is complete, it'll be pretty painless and quick tonight. We'll have a better understanding where we're at for the future, and we can get on with negotiating the host agreement. Go ahead.
Determined that we went from 70 some odd to 40 some odd. It was tons, not cubic yards, right?
No,
That was my question.
it is cubic yard. And all of that is every year the landfill has to have flyovers, and they look at the remaining volume and capacity based upon their measurements. The landfill has to report that to the state, and the state kind of monitors that. We monitor where the waste comes from because as of the old agreement, they were able to accept waste from 96 different counties in the region. But, there was a lot to that last host agreement about bioreacting landfills and degradation to free up space. And it really kind of made things much more confusing than it really needed to be. So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Except for you generated enough.
Is it, how does the early amount relate to the new one? In other words, we're going from the 72 now to the 47. How do those, since they're two different measurements, how do they relate? Have we got a lot less or?
So no, we've got the amount that we have. So in 2002 or 2000, I'm not sure the exact date that the state has. From that date, they have been subtracting cubic yards from there, and that's where we have ended up. So it's the most accurate measurement of how much waste or how much space that we have at the landfill now. And because we have a better estimate, we can do better planning.
All you're really trying to find out is how much space is available so that you can be better informed.
Yes. So we didn't want to move forward with doing the host agreement until we had a firmer number on this. And Tom Fitzgerald from the Kentucky Resource, he's written a lot of the host agreements across the state. He's written probably half of the KRSs that relate to solid waste in the state of Kentucky. The man has been around everywhere and he understands it. He's kind of the guy we're working with to do this right.
Anything else?
No, no, ma'am.
The Kentucky Recycling Coalition.
Yeah.
This is basically the board update.
Okay. You want me to take it? The Kentucky Resource Council, probably in 2023. Let me get rid of this. In 2023, we met with the Kentucky Resource Council. They wanted to, we met with a group that wanted to create. Yeah, coalition. They wanted to create a group that worked for the whole state of Kentucky to improve recycling and infrastructure, the whole 9 yards across the state. And by working through the whole state, it helps everybody. A lot of times when you get out into the state, there isn't very good infrastructure. They have very limited resources to be able to recycle. And this group is an all-encompassing group that is going to work to help advance Kentucky when it comes to recycling of materials. So at that time, they asked us for a pledge. And the board at that time in 2023 pledged $10,000 startup money, as well as other groups and haulers. I think Rumpke was one that put up money to as feed to get this thing started. It's taken that long. They have created the board. They've set a course and they're ready to go. They came back to us to ask for us to honor the pledge. So the board honored that pledge and voted to provide those funds for the coalition. We haven't sent them the money yet, but we asked them to also come back in 6 months to give us an update as to how that's going. It has been a long, arduous process. So they are just now getting started. Membership is, you can get membership and serve as part of that if you guys would want, but we're going to let them build that out until we understand. So we honored our pledge for $10,000 to help get it started.
There are 7 of us physically present here. Yeah.
It's up to you guys.
Well, we need 8 to be, unless we have people with their cameras on, I guess. If you do it that way.
Is the camera on?
Kim's is.
Kim's is.
Kim's.
Thank you, Kim.
Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
Are there any changes? Then I'll move the motion. Second, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion pass. And now we're at litter perception survey results.
Yes. Here. Okay, so this was also part of the 109 board update, just because we shared this at the last board meeting. But we had put out a litter perception survey, keyword perception. We're just asking what people think about litter in Louisville. We did it last year and in April, and then we decided to do it again this year, same survey in April. So some of these are the highlights of the results, and they're side by side from last year, which actually there's really not that much difference in the year, which not that we expected there to be a huge change, but last year we really wanted a baseline. We're doing a lot more public outreach and digital ads and things that are related to litter. So we kind of wanted that baseline, and now we figure, well, we'll just kind of keep asking and see if we see any changing trends. Yes.
Same or different respondents?
Different amount. I can't know for sure if same people or not. We had not as many respondents. I think it was about 1,100 last year and closer to 700 this year. So it's not, I mean, when you think of how many people there are, it's not much, but for a survey, it's probably pretty good. So one of the questions is just where do they think most of the litter is? I did notice that this year waterways moved up. I thought with flooding, that could be part of why people would think that more, but those roughly stayed about the same, and highways and streets is by far the number one, and interstates. And then there's a series of questions about where you either agree or disagree or you're neutral about what litter can do. So you can kind of see those. The light blue is the agree, the amount of people that agree, and they're mostly, litter impacts my quality of life. Litter leads to increased crime. Litter reduces property values. A lot of that people are agreeing on. The less agree was the litter leads to increased crime, but the trends there, like I said, from year to year, but just about the same.
I think it goes on the broken window theory.
Mhm. Yeah, there's definitely research, and that's why I insinuate that this is the perception, because there's some things that we know that other people may not realize. But this one actually last year, 92% thought litter in Louisville is either a major or severe problem, and that went down to 90%. So
Gotta take your victims where you.
yeah, that's like our one good thing. And then as far as why people might litter, that really hasn't changed either. It's kind of a pretty good mix, but the least amount is the no container nearby. People do not think that that's why people litter.
Nice.
Although laziness kind of goes along with it. Yeah.
Where you got centered leather.
Can-
I would say that it was litter somewhere.
Somewhere,
And then it moved.
Exactly.
Yeah, it might be brought to its attention.
Back 25 compared to 24.
That was only my theory. I was just saying that maybe water moved up just because people saw how much water moved trash around.
Was the flood after the survey?
We just had.
It was during.
It's different.
They
It all
count all
worked
that wood
together.
on the
It's
wall.
disasters.
We had the flood.
Hmm.
How'd they count all the wood they picked up and? the brick on
Right,
the
like I
water?
said, this is just what people thought. I wouldn't say people are thinking about like wood and things that get.
Well, but actually, the
But-
creeks are low, and that tended to be
Yeah.
really garbage.
Yeah.
Plastics.
Sure. Yeah, that was just a theory I had as far as why that might have been the case.
The previous one, looked pretty even.
Yeah, it was just waterways had kind of bumped up the graph.
Bruce, was your question centered on what did we do with the flood debris, the wood?
No, where did it count
Okay.
anywhere?
Okay. Yeah,
No,
we would
no.
have loved to have recovered all the wood.
Yeah.
It just had too much debris in it, so
Okay,
it
okay.
was separated.
Thank you.
It's a problem. Sorry.
The other idea I have is that on one of these, I think it's the previous one, shopping malls scored really low. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Shopping centers, yeah.
But I tell you what,
That's
if you go
worse.
behind the shopping
Yeah,
mall,
yeah.
the story changes.
Seriously,
They're
yeah.
completely open or overflowing or leaking, and there's usually a ditch behind there. And it goes downhill from there figuratively, literally.
Yes.
Is there a way we can put more pressure on with these shopping centers?
So I asked Pete that once, and he said we can afford full-time people
Oh.
to keep up with the problem.
So the enforcement of that falls under codes and regs, which really isn't us. There was talk about creating an ordinance that we can enforce, but we only had 4 people. And we got a very full slate of things to do. So we couldn't do that. I agree with you that those are the places that I see as the worst. In my opinion, because I lived out there and cleaned up that ditch many a times. The ditch right out on Barstown Road, right next to the Gene Schneider. You got a Walmart, you got a Kroger, you got a Taco Bell, you got all these fast food restaurants. It is the absolute worst. And you're right, there's a creek next to it. When you clean up all that stuff in the open ditch, you don't go past that. Go past that, it looks like an unbelievable amount of stuff, and it would be impossible to clean it up. All of it ends up in the ocean.
Department has a rule that requires food service establishments, grocery stores, restaurants, bars, joints, as they call it. They have to have their lid shut And therefore, the breeze can't just pick up the stuff and toss it everywhere. So maybe we need to reach out to the health department to encourage more help on that.
We could, I think that is even something that we could enforce. It's just very difficult to do it. It's something that swims could probably enforce. It's not been in our wheelhouse. It's been on, again, codes and regs. There's a huge number of issues with being able to enforce that. Needs to have a lid, no doubt. Needs to be empty often enough to keep it up there.
I think that's the bigger problem in most places.
And if there's a illegal dumping in that dumpster and everybody else is using it, and you don't have enough room for your stuff. Now, that's also a problem, but we're starting to impound a lot of people for that because a lot of businesses have figured out that they can send that to us and we can impound based upon it, and we have. Some of it is if there isn't staffing to get to that dumpster on that day, you get some overflow. I think that the front load truck is one of the major contributors of litter on the highway. If that dumpster is overflowing, sometimes you get that stuff on top of the front load truck, and when you get on the highway, it blows off. So that is part of it. But I agree that it's a key, part of the key to the litter issue.
So timing is everything. And last week, the Kroger on Goss Avenue was shut down. Initially, it was 3 aisles for rodent infestation. And then they finally got around to shutting the whole store down and making it, knock it down, clean it up, take proper care. I don't go behind there, but I'm gonna start just to see, but I'll guarantee you those rats were out back too.
They're gonna go somewhere.
Once you get them in the store with all that food, it's over. But if you kept them out from out back, you might not have gotten that infestation there. Maybe this is the time to strike.
I think that bringing that as an education piece, I think could be good. We'll keep that in. It's a good point.
Mike had his virtual hand up, but now it's down.
Well, I was just gonna say, and Pete knows this. I can't see if Lori's there today, but Brightside had all kinds of litter data several years ago about where all the litter is, and it was documented fairly well. I don't know, Pete, if you still have access to that or not, or if Lori's there.
Right
But-
side had litter data of where
Litter
litter.
data for every Metro Council district.
So you're talking about the cleanliness assessments that was done in each Metro Council district. Yeah, I was involved in that. I'm not sure that we still have that data, but Brightside is now in our building. So
Yes.
it may be a situation where we can have Brightside come and give us a presentation on their thoughts of
Right.
things.
And remember, these graphs have nothing to do with what is actually outside. This is perceptions only, and that's something that's really hard to measure. So we're just kind of trying it out, just getting people's thoughts on litter and seeing if that changes at all, knowing that we are going to continually put some messages out there. And this on the screen was the next one of, I think people litter either accidentally, on purpose, or both. And the accidentally is not very many people think it's accidental, but a big portion do think it's both, but most people think it's on purpose. But a lot of litter actually does happen accidentally from open
It's just amazing
things.
how willing people are to throw it out.
It's true, yeah. It's
Without,
I think it's those people that infuriate you
Yeah.
when you see it. But in the grand scheme of things, they're probably not they're not the cause of the most litter, in my
no,
estimation.
it's that incidental that you see. I
Yeah.
mean, it's really the legal dumpers, those kind of things. That's everyone's comment about vectors, permits. It does not take long. When a pile of waste is drawn in the vector. Whether it be a raccoon, rat, I mean, you name it.
Bars.
Yes,
They are.
so.
Watching me.
You know, the best when we had all kinds of federal money and army and people doing rat bait was 2% infestation in the homes. 2% was our best ever. Okay.
I don't know where we're at now, but I don't think it's anywhere near 2%. No.
The other graph that really hasn't changed a whole lot was, if you've seen or heard messaging about litter, the majority says no. We were saying, so last year, this was, right before we did another like litter campaign. It's our second one. This year's campaign so far, we were saying, like about social media that actually, went up a little bit, but we were saying that our messaging this year has been focusing on people using our services because that indirectly relates to litter. Whereas maybe people aren't hearing it more because they don't realize that they're hearing about litter when we're telling them, you know, hey, are you overstuffed on your garbage cart? This leads to litter. So.
I think another component of our education campaigns is that it focuses on age group, and it's really kind of specific to certain ones that are prone to litter more. But a sizable number of people that responded to the survey were outside of that demographic. So I'm not sure how many people it really reached. So, I mean, we're hitting it pretty hard.
Yeah. This one was a little disheartening because last year, well, the graph there where it says rarely, it spiked up. How often do you see people picking up litter? So this year, the majority of people said rarely. But we know we have crews out every day. We have lots of wonderful residents and volunteers out every day. But and then this, I did not have this chart in time for the board meeting. But I asked our GIS department just to give me a graph of where the respondents came from, just to make sure it wasn't too heavy in one area of town versus the other. So the brighter green is just a few respondents. The little bit darker goes 8 to 19. The yellow goes 20 to 35 respondents. Orange 36 to 81, and then for whatever reason, we hit hard right there in 40291. So
Who is that 36 to 81 up top, in the middle, the north, almost surrounded by,
oh yeah,
who is that?
40206.
Yeah, Chris Hill and part down.
Let's hear you, man.
Why are you looking at me?
So we did have some council
Means you're
people
right.
help us spread the word about taking the survey, but this is where the respondents came from. So I felt pretty good that even our highest orangish colors were spread out, you know. So anyway.
Do you send what you're doing to me? Because they steal things for the newsletter.
I do, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think where's-
Yes.
Give you a little bit of kudos on the sunny side of the river, and City of Albany's thinking about doing away with theirs.
They're what?
I think that's shut collection of recycling.
Really?
Short-sighted.
Yikes.
180-day waiting period, but they're getting ready because the state of Indiana changed some property tax rules. They can drag out the funding.
That's stupid.
Wow.
So that's
Well, they're
what
in
probably
for-
contributing. It's gonna cause a problem.
They're in for a brutal beatdown with people that are gonna lose that
It's already
service.
done.
Yeah, they might reconsider it.
It could just be a thing to be ready for in case they lose the funding. It's got 100-day waiting. Got 169 days to say no.
I mean,
But by then they'll lose their people and everything else.
Yeah.
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 That's all I have for the litter survey results. So that's really the end of the board update, unless you had anything else to add.
I do not.
sure.
I thought of a question listening to all this. I have now 4 times found a hypodermic, half of which had needles attached to them not far from the office, and I'm under an underpass, the one room guy was dumping. What am I supposed to do with those? I've been carefully taking them back, putting them in the roll cart on the thesis that it'll then get dumped in the truck. But is that the safest thing to do? I don't want to tipper.
It's actually, you're actually violating the ordinance, so
Okay.
I'll be coming to your house soon. No, what you need to do is take it and put it in a hard plastic, you like your sharps containers. Most people aren't going to have sharp containers sitting around. So you could take it and put it into like a laundry jug. Take and put sharps on it and put it in your trash. Do not put it into the recycle, even though it's a recyclable item. That could be an issue for
Well,
the
you didn't
recycling.
mean you were putting it in recycling.
No, I didn't,
Yeah.
I said that, I didn't.
That would be
Just-
another.
What area was it?
It's what, it's less than 2/10 of a mile if you get over the interstate train, but like this, but it's very close.
Just be safe doing it. And
Yeah.
there's guidelines to being able to handle that.
That makes sense, but I didn't think of it, and I appreciate you knowing that.
Good question.
Yeah, I guess we're going to hand off Sanders and not responsible. I do want to take the opportunity to apologize to the board for my part in this. And the office sent me over, so this is my apology. Next item on the agenda is old business. Wasted district application update.
Right, so we are still moving forward with the grant. It feels slow, but we have established, there really hasn't been any changes to we made slight edits to the expenditure list. There was like a little bit of discrepancy between eligible and ineligible that seemed confusing when we went through it. So that was a small change. And so we're basically looking at this as a timeline, if you can see that. The thought is to announce July 21st that we will be doing this, and then hold an information session on July 28th, which would be a webinar for anyone interested. Maybe they already have questions about it, or they want to learn more about how to use the eCivis platform. And then August 1st, officially open applications. So then that at that point, you can actually apply. And then we'll send out a reminder halfway through, and then deadline August 28th. So pretty much the month of August would be the month to apply. Have a couple of weeks of a review period. And so what's going to happen, we will have a first review where the idea is Rachel to help me with this when she's back from maternity leave, but that we would just be able to check for eligibility, the first check. And that way we know that once they're ready for the review period, we know they're at least viable applications. And in the meantime, before that review period, we will have established who all is on the review committee, and we'll have a training session for that as well, because the review also goes through the eCivis platform. And we can do interviews and follow-ups as needed with our short list of candidates, and then we'll have the final selection time, which we would be including the entire board at that point. To approve everything, but the idea is that we'll be able to announce recipients October 15th. So that's the timeline we're looking at. Hopefully that sounds good and makes sense to everybody. Doable.
That's 30-day period.
Yeah.
Now, we have our scoring matrix established.
Yes, I can resend that if you all want to look at it one more time, but we do have like criteria and then a rubric.
Is that something staff will do prior to it coming to the advisory committee for approval?
Well, I was talking about the reviewers, what you would
Reviewers.
use for reviewers, which we were hoping to have staff. I hopefully have a couple of, from board, a couple from the committee and
Right.
staff. And I've heard from Carl, who mentioned he'd like to be on the, that review committee, and Sarah Lynn, as long as there's no
I'm not going to be,
Not gonna be.
just, I'm going to be
too many.
encouraging a couple of.
Yeah.
entities, coaching them a little
Okay.
bit. But I wanted to say, I think there's going to be objectivity and subjectivity to this. Therefore, I think we have to help staff so that nobody
Yeah.
would say it was unfair.
Yeah, and although the platform eCivis is kind of new, the idea of Metro offering grants from other agencies is not new. And there's a lot of checks and balances that Susan Durham has been even sharing with me. Like, here's what happened with this. We don't want that to happen. So they've already learned some lessons that'll be passed on to us. I know I still have a lot to learn just going through this the first time, but anyway, that's kind of where we're at. There's a few behind the scenes tasks as far as getting it into that platform, but I just at least wanted to establish this timeline so we have something to go by. And if anybody else wants to be on that review committee, let me know whenever. You can email me or.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many applications we'll get, but if we get 30 applications, I mean, you're not going to have 3 to 4 people be able to review all those.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea, Bruce. Okay, good. You're making me feel better. Don't want to get overwhelmed with this.
Being new, I bet you won't get that many the first time around.
But that would be good.
Be careful how hard you're advertising.
Yeah. All right, so that's all I really have for that. If the timeline looked good, yeah.
I think I asked this the last meeting, but I forgot the answer, and therefore I didn't do anything here. I was doing what you did with one. We have a different student intern has gone out and found 3 nonprofits in Virginia, North Carolina, and Massachusetts that are collecting old mattresses, treating them for bed bugs, and then reselling them to low-income people who can't afford $900 mattresses. And we've got a fair amount of technical information and stuff on their processes and how many can they put, that sort of thing. It's now time for us to go talk to places like Goodwill, St. Vincent de Paul, et cetera. But I wanted to make sure I'm not talking out of school if I say there's going to be a granting opportunity coming up to help offset the cost. Is that okay for me to say that, or do you want me to wait longer?
I believe that it's open to anyone. So
Yeah.
I think that would be fine.
We're publicly saying it here that we are working toward that. So the goal is for that late July announcement. So, yeah.
Because I think we're not going to persuade anybody to take on something like this without a lot of lead time to think it out. But we're trying to make it easy. We've got the name and the phone number of the person who's there at this facility to talk to them and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
That'd be good. I would just like to say that Karen has put an exceedingly large amount of work into this, and she has done a really good job with the input of many people on this committee. So I just have to thank Karen for getting us to this point. I'm excited about seeing it in the future. If we get one project off the ground that can start diverting, then I think it's been worth it. So,
Perseverance.
yeah, so excellent.
All right.
Wait.
Yep.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is business outreach update.
Yes, so I was putting this under our staff update. I'll keep talking, but Diana has been helping a lot with this. That's Diana Tobias over there, our newest educator. And so just as a reminder, these 3 bullets listed here are specific actions within our 5-year plan. 2 of them are under the collection system and 1 of them is under recycling and reuse, but they are all related to outreach and technical assistance programs for each waste sector within this, I don't even know, just each waste sector, which is residential, ICI, self-haulage, construction and demolition. So that's kind of where we're at. And the guide here is for us to have these technical assistance programs specifically for businesses right now. It's what we're looking at. So that's kind of our guide. And this is what we've done so far. So this is kind of our update of what's going on. It's a little bit of a slow start, but we want to share what we've done, and hopefully you all can help us get the word out. So we have an online form. It's called Let's Talk Trash. And if you can scan that if you want to just be able to see it, but it's basically people filling out their business name, who their contact person is, and then answering some questions about their own waste generation. And we're putting this out there. It says, are you looking to improve your waste management practices and reduce your environmental impact? We can help. So basically like consulting about waste management. So that's our goal here, is to give people assistance as needed. Sometimes people have called us before without us having this out there, but we're trying to do that outreach piece of it. So we have that going. It is on our website, and we put it out every once in a while in social or in our Works Week newsletter. So this one, we actually have one business where we are saying we've completed. So I don't know if anyone's ever been to the Fizz District, which now that we've done this, I really want to go, but I haven't been. It's like a soda shop.
Frankfurt Avenue?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
seen it.
Yes.
Been there.
So, so they were already going. They were uncertain about recycling, and they actually had received some misinformation. They didn't know it was misinformation, but they were just a little confused about adding recycling to the waste process. And at the time of contacting us, they had 2 4-yard dumpsters that were being used for garbage, and that was through a private hauler. They are in the urban services district, but I guess they have more waste than allowable through that. So basically, when they contacted us, we talked to them on the phone, eventually did a site visit, clarified the options that they have, and it is like with city services, it's based on volume. So if they have too much, they aren't eligible for services. So you kind of have to go through that. They did end up engaging with their current private hauler that they had to implement a recycling program. So they kind of got it all cleared up, and they ended up, since they already had 2 small dumpsters, they ended up just designating one as recycling and one for garbage, and then matching their frequency of collection as needed. So it sounds very simple, but at the same time, they were confused and they weren't sure where to turn, and we were able to help. So this is a graphic. It's not exactly official because we want the Fizz District staff to approve it, but we want, and that hasn't happened yet. But it's a case study, and we want to do that with all the businesses that we are successful with and actually go through the entire process with, so that we can share that out every once in a while through social or keep on our website. So when people are thinking, I might need their help, oh, what did they do here? So that's the idea with that. So we're really excited about it. We've had a few other inquiries through our form. We just haven't finished up. Sometimes people fill out the form and then they're hard to catch back up with. We had a business way out in the East End called Hazen and Sawyer. I just can't get a hold of them again. And because I just needed to know who their private hauler was and if they had a dumpster service already. And then another one is over at the church near 4th and Haywood, near the baseball stadium. Somebody has a little pantry kind of thing, and they have a lot of cardboard, and we're trying to figure out recycling. So we just haven't connected yet. But so the good news is, we're working on it, and it's kind of fun. And Diana is helping lead the charge on this. The other thing that we just finished is the idea that we had was to have a flyer or card or something that we can leave with businesses, because we want to be able to go straight to people, but we also don't want to freak people out. Like, hey, we noticed you weren't recycling, or we noticed your dumpster's overflowing, so, and you may not even be able to walk in and get the right person in the moment. So, so we wanted to have a flyer that we could leave at a business. So this is the draft that we have, which I can email this later if you all want to see it up close, but basically it has the same info that was on the form.
On the anytime bill.
And then showing what we offer.
And I gave you the one copy I had. So
Good, thank you. Sorry, I wasn't sure what was happening, echo or something. So yeah, that's the update.
Yes, you're going to get the approval from this district.
To be able to share that case study, yeah. And then we were gonna print a few of these just on our own paper, but eventually I'd like to have it printed on nicer cardstock. Have cards we can leave. And then so the discussion here today would just be for you all, if you have any ideas or thoughts to help improve our process. And then also, I know sometimes we have representatives from the haulers, so if there was anybody, one specific question we had, which I can put out on email too, but is if each hauler could tell us the best contact person. Like I know who I usually go to if I have a question about WM or Rumpke or, you know, but maybe there's a more specific contact that has to do with these business accounts that, and so that would be something we would love to know, just to keep it streamlined. So we don't have to go through, you know, I don't have to go through you all the time if you know who else would be the other person, so. Yeah.
Does the urban services district service businesses?
We do.
Only residential?
We service businesses that generate less than 4 95-gallon carts of waste per week.
Less than 4.
So if you start to get above that, you're better to get it collected through a front load dumpster. So that's our cutoff, and we do residential in buildings or complexes that have 8 or less units. So
It's an apartment complex bigger than
then you're starting to get into the private sector and large capacity dumpsters, which we don't have the ability to do.
I didn't realize that there was residential.
So as far as outreach goes, we know those rules, so we know what we can offer on that end.
Say, hey, you can get this
Right.
essentially for free, or if it gets larger than that.
Then the private, all the haulers are options for them. And sometimes a business already has a particular private hauler and it's a matter of just getting them connected or helping them realize what
What
options.
size dumpsters they have.
Exactly, yeah.
So the one thing I would say about this, it's what the 5-year plan intentioned is for us to create a program that can do something like this. We're going to go after people that have no recycling right now, and we're going to get new recycling. Honestly, if we can get this rolling, this is going to be a big benefit. We're just talking about businesses right now, but I could see it creating something that for the construction and demolition sector that it'll be a little bit harder to reach those people, but at the point that they're pulling permits, you can have an information card that, hey, contact us and we can help you see how your deconstruction or demolition can recover more material. You know, then it's a decision for them. But I think it's got a lot of good to this. I think it's taken us a while to be able to get to this, and being able to slow roll it is going to get some learnings. I see it's going to help us pick up speed as time goes on. So they've done a good job on this. Thanks, Diana, too.
I can see, I get a lot of calls because we are a concrete recycler from even out of town, people who pick up a project in this area and they're trying to recycle as much as possible. I think a lot of times they have questions about what facilities your city has, like you have a paper process, cardboard, this, that, just, and maybe if you could refer them to you all and say, hey, we have this, and this, so.
We get those calls as well. And I think that building this out, there could be a web page for people that, if you're going to be coming in this, if you want to know more about this, here's this, and we can help them. But I think that's a sector that we have to build out with the help of the people in that sector. So more to come on that.
I forgot the time that I was at MSD and the phone rang, and it was a major fiberglass insulation manufacturer in this country who said, we're interested in building a new insulation factory in your community. And we called the Economic Development Office to find out how much recycled glass do you generate in your area, and they said, we don't know, call Sarah Lynn. And that was nuts. So it reminds me, maybe we ought to also periodically reach out to the Economic Development Department that's working with new businesses in the community and say, you might want to include in your packet of information a little bit about this.
It's a really good point. I think it deserves the economic development side of this, but I also think that that's right up the alley for this coalition to map out what we have to offer in the state of Kentucky
Yeah.
and the waste streams that are here for the taking. So that's part of what this coalition is supposed to do.
Have we given at this point?
I have,
So they have to go back 6 months to.
no, we are clear to give them the check. We have not sent them the check yet. So I've got to get that process. We don't send checks out too often. So, got to figure out that process.
Let me know if you want stuff, but I'll figure it out.
Okay.
And,
Got kind of know them pretty well.
no, I think it's good. I think really there's a lot of momentum. And I just want to warn Karen, what you're doing and even the small grant amount that we approved, your life's about to get really busy. And so they'll plan a trip in July and
It's a good thing I was looking.
Cancel it.
Because I think if you advertise that grant, the way we're talking about, Sarah Lynn's got a great opportunity. But you're going to be evaluating more than 10, I would imagine. And then the board's going, and the evaluation team, we're going to have to dedicate a lot of time to it. Because it's really going to kickstart things. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
So congratulations
Thank
for the
you.
work you're doing. Anything else? So,
I don't think so. I will send a follow-up email about to the haulers, just kind of asking that question about the specific contacts and things, but that is,
second thing I gotta say, page names and numbers.
With Laura no longer being in the birth, are there still monthly tours?
Uh-huh. Yep.
So, because I would like our interns this summer to go on
uh-huh,
one.
yeah,
What, who should
I can send you the link to it. And there is one on the 24th, Tuesday. If that's the soonest one. And then typically they are the second Thursday of the month, but the June one had to be shifted, so.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Laura hasn't went that far.
Right, I saw her in swimming pool like that.
She's so upset.
She's now with Smith Creek. She's good.
So she said that at her school, they were saying, recycling all goes in the trash anyway. So I want to show her otherwise. Because last night we went to the Sierra Club meeting where they played a movie. I didn't want to diverge on this, but it's too cool because it's going to become one of the proposals that helped submit. It was called Microplastics Madness. It was about a fifth grade school in a rough neighborhood of New York City. And it was a small enough school. There were only 2 classes per grade. And the 2 fifth grade teachers did everything you're supposed to do to teach science well with young kids. And all they focused on was plastic and litter. And it was the inquiry-driven stuff, the authentic learning stuff. And I watched those kids persuade grown-ups not to litter and not to use so much of this stuff. And it reminded me that in this country, many grown-ups learned they better recycle for their kids and their grandkids when they came home from school. And I think we need to get back to that. So one of the proposals you're going to get is going to be from an elementary school with a really good teacher and see if we can develop this inquiry-driven science learning module and create a bunch of fifth graders who really don't like litter.
Sarah Lynn, that's how seatbelts got started for the kids.
And
The
smoking.
kids
without-
making the parents wear seatbelts.
That's right. And a lot of adults quit smoking when their kids came home with that.
Thanks.
So maybe it's a Winsome person, but okay.
Very good. Next item on the agenda, we welcome any input, many of our people in attendance, the audience. So, anybody have anything you want to offer? Committee members? Anything you want to bring up?
Actually, I do. I want to thank Karen Maynard. Our city has 4 interns this summer in a very special program out of the University of North Carolina. And their focus this summer is on civic involvement. And one of the components deals with recycling process. They're trying to make us more effective. Anyway, they have the knowledge that anybody has when, like I have, it's very superficial. You tend not to realize how complicated the issue is. You tend to think you can Band-Aid it and make it happen. She did a fantastic job. They came back to me afterwards and said, "It's so complicated." Anyway, I really need to give her that shout out.
Pete was there too.
Yeah, no, they really, you guys did a great job.
Yeah, they were good to speak with.
Yeah, it was good.
I guess the announcements we have,
I have a few things listed here that Diane will be doing a community fair on Saturday. Motivational Mondays is having a community fair. We do have renovations in this exact room and area beginning next week. So the board meeting, I believe, is still scheduled for June 25th.
It is, we will likely be virtual.
So keep an eye out about that. The next Smurf at West Rock tour is Tuesday, the 24th, if you go. Okay, I will send you the link so we remember that you're coming. We started, well, we kind of started, a new to Lou waste and recycle, thanks Matt has to go. Waste and Recycling 101 for residents. It's advertised like if you're new to Louisville, come hear about how waste and recycling works here in Louisville. So we put it out there for last month and didn't get anybody to join the call, but we're just going to keep it going as a recurring. And then Diana's actually going to record a session as well, so we can just post it as a video for anybody that wants to listen. And Alberta O. Jones Day is another community fair that we'll be at, and then our next advisory committee meeting would be July 16th. And location to be determined at this point.
Here's a new bar open.
when is the next board meeting?
June 25th, which a week from today.
I will be out of town on the 25th.
Okay. It'll be virtual.
And that one will probably be virtual.
So
So
if you want to attend virtual,
Call in Florida.
yeah. We
if you
expect
want.
I would be looking for somebody. Place cool to sit in. Any other business we need to discuss? Hearing none, look for motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second. And all in favor? Anyone want to stick around?
The board meeting, feel free.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you
for the
all.
call.